Kelly and Dollard.
Live from Waterford and the Virgin Media Broadband Studio in Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead. Aherne. Today's top stories. There's disappointment in Dungarvan after planning was refused for a 10-storey apartment and leisure complex in the town. A local councillor claims Youghal pubs are using County Waterford bottle banks to dispose of waste glass. Gardaí and Waterford are urging people to limit the amount of cash they have in the home. And in sport, Ballygunner and De La Salle are to meet in the county's senior hurling final on October 13th. The Mayor of Waterford says he disagrees with the decision to refuse planning permission for a 10-storey apartment and leisure complex in Dungarvan. Developer Michael Ryan wanted to build 94 apartments for holiday use, along with a leisure centre and a swimming pool at Bridge House on Davitt's Quay. He'd also sought planning for commercial units and a car park with 142 spaces at the derelict site, which has been vacant since the mid-90s. Waterford Council refused planning last October, and in his appeal to An Bord Pleanála, Mr Ryan made some revisions. However, the board has rejected the appeal, saying the proposed development would constitute a visually dominant and discordant feature in the townscape and would integrate poorly with the surrounding environment. The Mayor of Waterford City and County Council, John Pratt, says the decision is bad news for the town.
To me, look, this is very disappointing because, as I said, Dungarvan is doing very well at the moment with the Greenway and the visitors and would be in real need of accommodation. And I think even, during the busy period of time there were times when they didn't have enough accommodation in Dungarvan to facilitate the visitors.
He says he hopes there's a way of getting the development over the line.
You would hope that from a visual point of view that there would be a way of tackling that. And I understand, that certain buildings, visually they like them to stay in a certain way, but surely there's a way of ticking that box, you know what I mean? I think it seemed that it would be a game changer for Dungarvan, and I'm kind of surprised at the board's decision, and I hope that it's not a fait accompli, that there may be a way of going back and improving it visually in order to get this into Dungarvan.
Pubs in Youghal are using bottle banks in County Waterford to dispose of their empty bottles and waste glass. That's according to Sinn Féin councillor Conor McGuinness. He says he's received several complaints from residents in Kinsailbag and Clashmore in recent weeks concerning overflowing bring banks.
A number of residents of Kinsailbag and Clashmore have observed on several occasions staff from a number of pubs in Youghal, people that they'd recognise driving vehicles, in some cases with the branding of the establishment in question on it, delivering loads of glass to these bring banks and disposing of it there.
He says it's illegal for businesses to dispose of their waste glass in these recycling facilities.
Waterford City and County Council provides a network of 66 bring banks across the city and county. And these are provided exclusively for recycling household glass. They're not for commercial use, and it's illegal for businesses to dispose of their waste glass in these facilities. So I've asked the council to write to licensed premises in Youghal in general to remind them that it's an offence to use bring banks for commercial use. I think this is a good first step to write to all licensed establishments in the area.
Gardaí in Waterford say thieves who have robbed and ransacked a number of rural houses over the last few months may have been given information about their targets. Investigations are still ongoing into the burglaries, and there have been arrests in some cases. Sergeant Brendan Roach says everyone should limit the amount of cash they have in the home. Gardaí are urging people to keep their money in the post office, bank or credit union.
There's obviously information flowing from some sector to these individuals, and they come and they target specific houses in country areas normally and end up with substantial sums of money. Again, obviously the information here is twofold. For people to mind their money, take stock of the cash handling that they have at the moment and say, if I were burgled tonight, how much would I lose? And it is only a simple case of taking that cash and lodging it into the bank.
TDs have criticised the timing of John Delaney's resignation from the FAI. The news about the Waterford native was announced late on Saturday night, just days ahead of the expected publication of a forensic audit report into football's governing body. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe reports.
It was late on Saturday night when the FAI announced the end of John Delaney's 15 years at the top of football's governing body. The timing's been criticised by a number of TDs.
The fact that it was coming late on a Saturday night is really harkering back to the past in the way the FAI did things, and it was just, oh God, not more of this.
I think there's a significant degree of news management that isn't working
for the FAI in relation to this issue.
It comes ahead of the publication of a forensic audit into the FAI's finances, which is due next week. It also means Delaney won't appear before the Oireachtas Sports Committee hearing into it next month. Committee Chair Fergus O'Dowd says this resignation doesn't answer all the questions.
I don't think it's enough at all. I think that when we've got the full detail of the forensic, and that's a forensic audit which I look for, we will know what needs to change. And until then, we don't.
TDs like Catherine Murphy have also joined Minister Shane Ross in calling for the FAI to reveal how much of a golden handshake Delaney's getting.
We don't know what that figure was when you put everything together. And the very fact that there's such secrecy around this is just not acceptable.
They say there needs to be clarity around the finances if the FAI wants Sport Ireland funding to be restored. Sean Defoe, Leinster House.
Property prices in Waterford remained unchanged in the past 3 months, with time taken to sell increasing from 6 to 9 weeks. The latest myhome.ie Davy quarterly house price report shows nationally they've risen by 0.3% over the past year. Davy chief economist Conal McQuilla says the country's following Dublin's lead.
Well, what we've seen is house price inflation slow towards zero. We've already seen that in Dublin. I think people already understand that. But what we're seeing now is the slowdown extend to the rest of Ireland. And what we think is happening, of course, affordability is stretched. We're expecting a slowdown in any case, but it's a little bit more severe than we would have thought.
The increase in homeless figures is disappointing, according to the Simon Communities. New statistics for August show there are 10,338 homeless people around the country, up 63 on July. The figure is 112 in Waterford. Ireland now has 3,848 homeless children living in emergency accommodation. Head of policy at the Simon Communities, Wayne Stanley, says the focus of next month's budget on Brexit will offer little relief to the situation.
We're heading into a general election probably in the next 6 months. That means the consequences, the trajectory that this budget sets for where we're going to go on housing and homelessness could well be the trajectory for the next 2 years. And that could mean 2 more years of more children in homelessness over the winter, 2 more years of increasing homelessness. And we need to find a turning point.
The project manager of Waterford Food Bank says food poverty is an issue in every city in Ireland. The initiative, which has been in operation for several years, will be officially launched this Friday. John Barrett spoke to Damien Tiernan on Data Today.
Waterford Food Bank was set up in 2017 by Waterford Area Partnership and St Vincent de Paul. And the aim of the food bank was to help people in every community here in Waterford to eradicate food poverty. To date, we've handed out over 60,000 kilos of food. And you have to remember, this is not waste food. This is all surplus food.
A Waterford city-based councillor has called for the local authority to ban roadworks from taking place before 9 a.m. during the school term. Fianna Fáil's Adam Wise says they're causing serious disruption to people's lives. He wants the council to be stricter about when works can go ahead.
To go for about 4.5 kilometres took me about an hour and 15 minutes there one day last week to get from where I'm living close to the city and back out. Do we have any say as to when roadworks can happen and can't happen? I know there's a cost there involved in doing it post 9 a.m. Could we actually make it a policy of this council that roadworks during school times wouldn't happen prior to 9 a.m. because people have livelihoods and there's issues there, even the damage that it's doing to the environment and having that amount of cars idle on the road.
Senior roads engineer Gabriel Hines says the council does provide a licence for roadworks. However, he's ruling out introducing restrictions.
We're in control of the roadworks and certainly we can reduce times, but the difficulty is they like starting at 7 in the morning. If you restrict the time during peak hours, suddenly a job that should take a fortnight now takes 4 weeks with additional costs. So at times you're as well to let them start as early as possible in the morning and continue on at 7 in the evening and get it over with in the shortest time frame as possible.
And the final cruise ship of the 2019 season has failed to dock in Waterford. The Nautica was due to drop anchor off Dunmore this morning with 684 passengers on board. However, poor weather conditions meant the tenders could not come ashore and the vessel's now en route to the UK. It's the 4th cruise ship that has been cancelled at Dunmore this year due to poor weather for tendering operations.
WLR Sport.
Very good afternoon, I'm Gavin Whelan. Starting with Gaelic Games, it'll be Ballygunner against Delasala in this year's County Senior Hurling Championship Final on the 13th of October. A man of the match display from Waterford defender Shane McNulty and 1-3 from full forward Thomas Douglas saw Sal emerge 120 to 116 victors over Mount Sion in yesterday's thrilling semi-final. The Grace Dew outfit got 7 of the last 8 points to reach their second final in 3 seasons. Manager Brian Phelan felt that they came good in the final quarter.
I was same as the Rome game, and to be honest, it was always going to be going to the last few minutes, so that's where we expected that during the week, and that's what Mayo Sign gave us. And lucky enough, we had a couple of players who stood up again near the end in the last 10 minutes and got us over the line.
Ballygunner back in the decider yet again. They proved too strong for Dungarvan in Fairfield yesterday, running out comfortable winners by 222 to 113, maintaining their bid for 6 in a row. Last year's manager with the Gunners, Fergal Hartley, felt Peter Hogan's goal in the 15th minute was a big score in the game.
Ballygunner had a command in first half, lead 11 points. Dungarvan seemed, I'm assuming Dungarvan opted to play against the breeze. Which,
you surprised at that?
Yeah, I was to some extent, because I would have thought they probably needed a good start, and to maybe go in at half time 6 or 7 points up or more if they could. But I suppose when there was 11 points in at half time, even though there was a strong breeze, you'd always feel that it was going to be very hard for Dungarvan to recover.
So Ballygunner against Tillasall, that'll be coming up on the 13th of October in Welsh Park, county final day. The relegation final between Four Mile Water and Ballyduff Upper ended in a draw yesterday, 1-12 to 4 Mile, 15 points to Ballyduff Upper. Next to rugby, Ireland number 8 CJ Stander says Saturday's defeat to Japan proves that their mistakes will be punished. Joe Schmidt's side will look to regroup on Thursday against Poulet Minnows Russia, with the squad for that game to be revealed tomorrow morning. Ireland's game plan has come in for criticism since the shock defeat to the hosts, having been held scoreless for 60 minutes. Stander says Japan made them pay for their inconsistency.
Just be consistent in our process and what we do, because I believe we can attack well and we defend very well, and if we can just bowl on the moments we have and use opportunities, then we can get the points on the board. But sometimes if you lose those moments against a team like Japan, who was class on the weekend, then you're going to get let down, so I think that happened a few times.
Meanwhile, Irish management have confirmed that both Rob Kearney and Tyke Furlong have passed the second stage of their head injury assessment, so should be available for selection if needed. 2 of Ireland's other pool opponents are currently in action in Kobe. Scotland are taking on Samoa, looking to pick up their first points of the campaign. 77 minutes on the clock. During the final few minutes, Scotland are going to pick up their first win because they're leading that one by 27 points to 0. The early penalty there coming from Greg Laidlaw. Soccer next. Arsenal will be targeting a First League win at Old Trafford for 13 years tonight when they take on Manchester United in the Premier League. A win for the Gunners will put them back into the top 4. United are likely to be without the injured Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford once again, while Paul Pogba is also a doubt. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side have lost 3 of their last 6 league games on their home patch. Athletics. Cork sprinter Phil Healy is the only member of Team Ireland in action on day 4 of the World Athletics Championships in Doha. She runs in the heats of the women's 200 metres. Healy will take to the blocks just after 3:05 Irish time this afternoon. That's the latest on WLR. Our next bulletin is at